Hey guys, welcome to your second COD World at War Zombies mod menu based scripting tutorial. Now, this tutorial we're going to be creating the button listening, which means that we can tell when a button is pressed by the player. So then we can obviously use this to like toggle the menu and things. So first of all, you're just going to want to open up your two files in your text editor, and the first thing that I'm going to quickly run through is how to stop functions from running. Now, we're going to have to put some functions, we're going to have to put a constant running loop within some functions, and therefore they're going to need some way to stop running. And to do that, then you can just go ahead and put self reference to the player that is running this GSC, and then you can just go ahead and put end on bracket, quote, and then the event. So we can put death, and sorry about that, Java just came up. Yeah, so death, quote, bracket, semicolon, and now all that will do is it will simply stop running this function whenever the player dies, because that is a default notification for the player when they die. And then we can obviously create our own notifications, but we'll be doing that later on. So now I'm just going to go ahead and change this hello text to init menu ran, because init menu is the function name, and we'll just put ran after it just so that we actually know when this function is actually being ran, just for debugging purposes. And now we're going to just create a new function, and we're going to thread it, so we're going to go ahead and put self thread for multi-threading for the player. And now we're just going to go ahead and put button listen, and then just create that function, button listen. Make sure that you have the exact same capitalization and everything, and then two empty brackets and two curly braces. Now we're going to also want to make this end on death, so self end on death, and then we're also going to go ahead and put self end on stop menu, and then we can go ahead and stop the menu later on. Now we're going to have to put a constant for loop, which means that it's going to constantly run this block of code within these two braces just here. And this is so that we can constantly check if any buttons are being pressed. And then just to make it actually loop, and we'll just put wait 1 at the end. So then that'll wait 0.1 second before it reloops. So now we're going to actually check if any buttons are pressed. So obviously we're going to go ahead and use an if statement. And we're just going to go ahead and put if self attack button pressed, two empty braces or brackets or whatever. Then for now we're just going to go ahead and put self print line attack, or I'll put this shoot press, because attack button is fire or shoot. And then else if self adds button pressed is self print line aim pressed, and a couple more, self use button pressed, which is the button that you use to like buy guns and doors and things. And then one more, self what is it, melee button pressed. And obviously that is knife. So hopefully this should be working now, and it should hopefully be able to tell whenever any buttons are pressed. But before we actually test this out, then we might as well just finish off the function and then get rid of any bugs if there are any after that. So first of all, we're going to actually create some variables that we need for each player. So up in init menu, which is the first thread that is going to be ran when the player spawns, then we're just going to thread a new function, and we're just going to call it setup vars. So setup variables, just create that. Now just self end on death, because now something that you do have to realise is that in our cheat.gsc you can see that it threads our menu function every time the player spawns. So therefore, we're not going to want anything running twice at the same time, so we're going to make everything end on def. So hopefully you understand that. If not, then leave a comment and I'll PM you probably. So first of all, the first variable that we're going to need is we're just going to need self.menuOpen to see if they actually have the menu open, and by default that's going to be false. Self.curMenu for their current menu, by default that's going to be 0, and self.curOpt for current option, and that's also going to be 0 by default as well. Actually, I think we could go ahead and set that to 1, and you'll see why a bit later. And I think that's the only variables that we need right now. But you know what, we might as well set up verification now as well. So self.verLevel for verification level, and the default is going to be 0 because we're not going to give them the menu by default unless they're the host. So actually we can go ahead and put if self is host, then self.verLevel equals let's see, we're going to have 0 is nothing, 1 VIP, 2 admin, 3 co-host, I think, I don't know, yeah, I might as well have co-host, so 4 will be host, else we'll just go ahead and set their verLevel to 0. So by default, the menu open variable is false, their current menu is 0, and their current option is 1, and their default verification level is 0 unless they're the host, then it's going to be the host, which is 4. I'll just go ahead and quickly add a comment just here, so 0 equals no verification, 1 equals VIP, 2 equals admin, 3 equals co-host, and 4 equals host. Okay, so now that we've got those, then down in our button listen function, now we're going to make melee actually toggle our menu, so we're going to go ahead and put self.menuOpen equals exclamation mark self.menuOpen, and that's just going to simply set self.menuOpen, which is our boolean to whether we have the menu open or not, which by default is false, and we're going to make that equal the opposite of whatever it was, so it's going to change it from true to false or false to true, so essentially toggle the menu. And then after that we'll just output whether it's actually open or not, so we'll put menu open space plus self.menuOpen, and that's going to display 1, or no, it's going to display true or false. So now we can go ahead and put in the shoot button, which is attack. Now we can go ahead and put if self.menuOpen, so if the menu is open, then we want it to add 1 to the current option, so self.currentOption plus. In the aim button, which is adds, we're going to want to make sure that the menu is open, self.menuOpen equals true, and up here we need to put equals true as well. Self.curMenu, no, hang on, wait, aim, so curOpt minus to go down an option. In the use button, check that the menu is actually open, if self.menuOpen equals true. Now, we're not actually going to create the select function just yet, so we're going to do that later on in the series, so for now, we'll just go ahead and put self-thread test, and then we'll just create function test, and we'll just put self println test ran. No, we'll just go ahead and put menu plus self.curMenu, which for now should always be 0 because we haven't set it to change yet, plus option, and that should change, so self.curOpt. Okay, so that should be working now. So just to quickly run through it one more time, this function gets ran upon every single time each player is spawned. It's going to output that line, it's going to thread these two functions, set up vars, just simply creates the variables for each player that we need. So whether the menu is open, true or false, the current menu default is 0, current option default is 1, and then their verification level 4 for the host or 0 for not the host by default. And then obviously it will be adding a verification menu later on to change their verification level. Button listen, we'll go ahead and it's going to end on stop menu and def, and then it's going to constantly loop to check if any of these buttons are pressed, which is shoot, aim, use and melee. If the menu is open and they press the shoot button, then it's going to go ahead and add one to the current option. If the menu is open and they aim, then it's going to take one from the current option. If the menu is open and they press use, then it's going to self-thread test for now. Later on it's going to actually get the current selection by using the current option and then thread whichever function is necessary to that option. And then melee is just going to toggle the menu whether it's true or false anyway. And then thread is just going to say the current menu and the current option. So we'll just go ahead and save that, and now we will go into World at War. So I'll be back in a second. Okay guys, so we got the unknown function error, and all that basically means is that we've accidentally threaded something that doesn't exist. So simply double click on this and you can see that it highlights that, so that is definitely spelled the exact same. You can go ahead and copy and paste it into here if you want, and that's the same as well. So I think the only difference is this is host, so I think it's actually self dot is host. So let's go and test this out. Okay guys, so just go ahead and load up your mod again, and then load up a map, and it's working this time, so hopefully everything should work okay. So you can see that we get our little debug message the second that we spawn in. So now if we go ahead and press shoot, then you can see the only thing it says is shoot pressed, and it doesn't say anything else or do anything else. If you go ahead and press use, then you can see that the only thing it says is use pressed instead of running the self-thread test. So now if you go ahead and press melee, then you can see that the menu is now equal to 1, which means that it's true. And now if you press use, then you can see it says option 1 and menu 0, just ignore that. For some reason it's doing the opposite of what it actually is. But it's only for debugging purposes, this little test thread, so it doesn't really matter about that. But the main point is if you press use, then the current option is 1. If you shoot, press it again, and the option is 2. Shoot, press it 3. If you aim and then press it, then it goes down again to 2. So you can see that that's working okay, and the actual option and toggling is working fine. So that's pretty much successful. So feel free to leave your support and everything, leave a like, leave some feedback in the comments because it helps quite a lot. And the next video will probably be the actual building the menus, and well, yeah, building the menus, so that means like the functions for them, the actual text that will be displayed, and if we have time, then the background and stuff as well. So thanks for watching guys, I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.